Chapter 21 First Blood on Icy Cave Hard Mode. 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I'll leave it up to you. Yi Si said after pondering for a while. Although she wanted to hide her name, it would come off as suspicious if the rest didn't hide their names and she was the only one doing it. They might even associate that first kill incident of the normal mode Icy Cave to her. If that was the case, she'd get involved in unnecessary troubles. Since Yi Si decided to leave it up to Little Icy Cold Hands, he immediately decided to make it public. Please name your party. Little Icy Cold Hands was getting excited. Without thinking, he immediately typed, "Freaking awesome people." The system channel was immediately flooded by system messages. Congratulations, freaking awesome people, a party of 5 members for being the first to clear the Icy Cave on hard mode. Let us remember their names. Congratulations player Little Icy Cold Hands for getting the first blood in Icy Cave on hard mode. Rewards: 30 gold coins, system prestige points. 10,000, 1 talent point. Congratulations player Icy Cold Little Hands for getting the first blood in Icy Cave on hard mode. Rewards: 30 gold coins, system prestige points. 10,000, 1 talent point. Congratulations player Gongziyu for getting the first blood in Icy Cave on hard mode. Rewards: 30 gold coins, system prestige points. 10,000, 1 talent point. Congratulations player Little Grouper Fish for getting the first blood in Icy Cave on hard mode. Rewards: 30 gold coins, system prestige points. 10,000, 1 talent point. Congratulations player Just a Blade for getting the first blood in Icy Cave on hard mode. Rewards: 30 gold coins, system prestige points. 10,000, 1 talent point. The 4 of them squealed in excitement. Right now, it was as if nothing else could beat the excitement of first blood. Even if they were all strangers to each other before entering the dungeon, they were pretty much comrades who had been through thick and thin now. Just a Blade even pulled out the ranking list and quickly found his way to the Icy Cave page on hard level. Sure enough, 5 of their names were recorded on the first blood record. He smiled gladly. I would have never thought that my name would be up there in my whole life. This is too amazing. While the few of them were celebrating in the dungeon, all the major guilds were turned upside down. The Spring Rain Guild. Just what kind of party is the freaking awesome people? Who are they? How did they manage to clear the Icy Cave on hard mode? Quickly get to the bottom of this. The Blank Space Guild. Find out which guilds these people belong to. If they don't belong to any, then get all of them on board. Are you guys pigs? How could you let the first kill slip away like this? Go investigate this. Iron-Blooded Battle Spear. Thousand Sunsets, who was clearing monsters in the Icy Cave on hard mode with a few other core members, was stunned when he heard this global system announcement too. Peacock Blue, who was healing beside him, was surprised too. She knitted her brows. What freaking awesome people. I have never even heard of them. Where did they come from and how did they get the first blood? Thousand Sunsets paused for a moment before he resumed slaying monsters. Seeing that he didn't utter a single word, the few of them could only resume the task on their hands. He only turned his head around after the final monster had been slain. Go check which guild these few people are from. Peacock Blue immediately went to look for someone to relay this order. It wasn't even 1 minute before she turned around and informed Thousand Sunsets, "Boss, that Gongziyu seems to be from our guild." What? Thousand Sunsets was startled. From our guild? Why have I never heard of this name? I recall that Lefty had approached me personally this morning, asking me to accept this person. No wonder why this name sounded so familiar. I went to run a check and turns out that she is indeed from our guild. If she is from our guild, then why didn't she follow us to the dungeon? Why did she go wandering off alone and even got the first blood out there? Thousand Sunsets frowned. First bloods play an important role in contributing towards a guild's ranking. His own guild member didn't help his guild in clearing a dungeon, and instead went out there to get a difficult first blood. This soured his mood. Peacock Blue, on the other hand, was at loss. Although she was part of their guild and their guild had parties for dungeon, not everyone would participate in guild activities. This was quite common, yet when she didn't know how to answer Thousand Sunsets' questions, all she could do was to silently stand at one side. Thousand Sunsets sighed again and looked at Peacock Blue and the other three. Guild member benefit system must be done by today. Let me have a review after that. Roger. Go online and search for the video of this first blood. If it doesn't exist, go find Gongzi Yu herself and ask her who the leader was. Find a way to recruit that person into our guild. Thousand Sunsets stopped fighting. This global system message had killed his mood for dungeon grinding. He just wanted to return to the guild base quickly and get the benefit system. Freaking awesome people. Yi Si looked at the party name speechlessly. Nevertheless, this kind of party name was a one-time thing, as long as they don't go to the party management NPC to spend their money. However, the idea of seeing this kind of party name on top of her own name forever recorded on Fate's ranking list still made her feel a little conflicted. That was a very questionable naming taste. Gongzi, Gongzi. Come loot the boss. Ever since they cleared this dungeon, these four people had been completely worshipping Yi Si. They were all anxiously staring at her with their endlessly sparkly eyes, hoping that Lady Luck was still with her and she could bring them some luxurious battle spoils. Although they had placed the faith in her, Yi Si didn't have that kind of confidence on herself. She shook her head. No need, I'm unlucky. There are 4 bodies on the ground, each of you take one. No matter how hard the 4 of them had coerced her, Yi Si firmly refused to loot the bodies. In the end, the 4 of them could only go forward and loot each of them. The loot they got was quite decent. The 4 bodies produced a total of 12 blue weapons and 2 skill books, the beginner level arrow crafting skill and blazing contract. Yi Si on the other hand was most excited about finally being able to see the special items of the Icy Cave, and it was not just one of them. Icy Great Axe X1, Icy Longsword X1, Icy Shortbow X1, Icy Staff X1. Among the 12 blue graded weapons, 4 of them were weapons of the Icy series. Except for Little Icy Cold Hands, everyone got one for themselves. But he wasn't sad, because among these 12 blue graded weapons, 2 of them were cleric's equipment. Although the 4 of them were looking at these items with sparkly eyes, they still decided to give Yi Si the rights to decide on the battle spoils distribution. I only want the shortbow and the 2 skill books. You guys can have the rest. Sounds fair. Yi Si rejected the distribution right from Little Icy Cold Hands with a smile and asked the rest of them instead. To be able to get her hands on an icy shortbow in this dungeon was already a great reward to Yi Si. The beginner level arrow crafting skill was also something she had been yearning for, and it was extremely lucky that she could get it this time. The blazing contract was one of the 12 summoners' skill books. It allowed summoners to summon a high-level fire spirit and was one of the skills that a summoner must learn. Although they didn't really have a low drop rate, they could only be found in dungeons on difficult mode. None of the summoners possessed it yet, so she wanted to give this to Lu Chang. The 4 of them felt shy when they heard that Yi Si only wanted these few items. After all, they had only managed to clear this dungeon thanks to Yi Si's lead. She had even handled 2 bosses by herself. If it wasn't for her, they would still probably be a lying corpse right now. As it is, she had only wanted items that were useful for her job class. However, she said, equipment aren't really categorized at early stage, so aside from some specific weapons, job classes of the same series can basically share the same weapons. Don't waste the equipment. Share them among yourselves. I am content enough to have these 3 items. The other items are useless to me anyway. Since Yi Si had already put it this way, the 4 of them stopped declining and happily distributed the goods among themselves. Oh damn! I have forgotten to record a video of it just now. What a mistake. Little Grouper Fish, who was about to get her icy staff weapon, suddenly cried out in regret when she remembered about the event from just now. The rest felt extremely regretful too. They wanted so badly to ask Yi Si to replay her nimble controls. Yi Si breathed a sigh of relief too. It was lucky that they didn't record it. If they had uploaded this on the net, it would cause an uproar. She had also ordered everyone not to disclose the fact that she was in command today. Although the 4 of them were a little curious, they agreed without further questions. Actually, Yi Si didn't know how long these people could keep this secret. It'd be good if they could keep it as long as possible. She didn't have any time on her hands to deal with those unnecessary things that would happen after this incident was exposed. After adding each other on their friend lists, they bid their farewells. Yi Si walked behind the other party members. She waited until the 4 of them had exited the dungeon before turning back for Shatter's dead body. Using a little knife, she cut off its head and stashed it into her bag before finally exiting the dungeon. It wasn't that she had forgotten about it just now. If she had cut off Shatter's head during that time, she wouldn't know how to explain to the other 4 about her quest. She could not possibly tell them that she knew how to unlock this particular side quest because she was reborn and had played Fate for 10 years. Never mind. It was best that no one knew about this. As soon as Yi Si exited the dungeon, she took out the icy shortbow and scanned through the attributes. Icy shortbow. Blue weapon attack speed. 1.5 attack, 20 to 35 strength plus 14 agility plus 20 specialty. Attack accuracy rate plus 10% specialty. 20% chance of ice damage, reduces target moving speed by 50%, effect lasts for 8 seconds. Required level 10 class. Hunter, Ranger. After equipping the icy shortbow, Yi Si immediately searched for a few monsters that were about level 10 in the Elven Forest to test the weapon on .154.161. Critical attack, 297. This amount of damage exceeded the original weapon by 1/3. If she was using a higher level arrow, her damage would be brought to another level. She immediately learned the beginner level arrow crafting skill. Chapter 22 Clear Moon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Beginner arrow crafting only enabled the user to craft wooden arrows. It required a lot of feathers, which were rather common in the newbie village. Newbies would usually sell the cuckoo bird feathers they had gotten from loots to NPCs for some pocket money. Yi Si sat at the entrance of the village and shouted out, buying cuckoo bird feathers, 1 silver per complete set. Buying from whoever that has them. A complete set of cuckoo bird feathers could only be sold to NPCs at 20 copper coins each. Hearing that someone was purchasing them at bulk with 1 silver coin per set, the newbies in the village almost broke out into a riot. In less than an hour, she had more than enough feathers for her arrows and quickly left the area. She stored all the feathers into the warehouse before walking up to the village chief. She handed Shatter's head to the sly old man with an honest appearance. Ah, look who's back. It's our brave little elven warrior. Perhaps Yi Si have been to Icy Cave too often, because her prestige in the elven newbie village had already reached respected. All the NPCs of the entire village treated her warmly. Even the village chief, who was always putting up airs, bowed towards her as a form of greeting before continuing, "Young huntress, I smell the blood of a beast on you. If I'm not wrong, you've brought me the head of Shatter." Yi Si handed the boar's head to the village chief and completed her quest. The fox-like village chief was not stingy at all. He immediately rewarded Yi Si with 1 talent point and a dagger. Yi Si ignored the long-winded speech that came after her reward and focused her attention on the dagger. It was a green equipment, but the stats were nice. Dagger of Haste Green Equipment Attack Speed 1.5 Attack 8.18 Agility plus 11 Strength plus 7 Special Attribute. Attack Speed increased by 0.5 Class Requirement. None. The dagger could be used by players of any classes, but it was especially effective when used by rogues, rangers, and hunters that depend highly on agility and attack speed. A character can only utilize its agility to its maximum by carrying a light load. A bow is a ranged weapon with a minimum range of 6 feet. Hunters and rangers could only resort to melee when an enemy approached the 6 feet radius. This meant that they rely heavily on melee weapons as well. The Dagger of Haste increased the agility of its user exponentially as well as boosted the attack speed by 0.5. This meant that when two players were using daggers with 1.5 attack speed, the one who was using the Dagger of Haste would be able to attack one more time within 3 seconds. For rogues, rangers, and hunters that did not rely much on strength, the one additional attack could tip the scale of the battle. That was why Yi Si felt that the dagger was as good as any blue equipment, despite its quality being green. Yi Si got used to the dagger's weight after equipping it. She gave the dagger a few swings and could feel the change in attack speed. Ah, young huntress. Noticing that the village chief was about to end his speech, Yi Si sheathed her dagger and waited for the chief to hand out a new quest. I'm happy that you've grown so fast. I've heard about the news of some bandits residing in Forest of Stone from Officer Tony. They've been causing trouble for the city administrator. If you could bring the right hand of their leader, John, to the city administrator, I believe it'll be beneficial for you. Yi Si accepted the quest without hesitation. She was about to complete Little Lemmy's quest and she could complete both the quests at once. Yi Si was a patient person, not a leveling maniac. After completing the quest from hard difficulty Icy Cave and learning beginner arrow crafting, she did not attempt to level up anymore. She bought some wooden stakes with no specified purpose from an NPC and began to train her arrow crafting skill. But even when she was not out looking for trouble, trouble had a way of finding her. Before she could settle down, dozens of strangers sent her messages asking for the details of hard difficulty Icy Cave. She was too tired to answer the lot of the questions and resorted to muting her private message channel. The world was suddenly peaceful and quiet. Right after silencing her voice channel, Yi Si's word channel immediately beeped. She could only silence every available channel. Even with that, a pigeon appeared high in the sky and flew towards her. There were 3 ways of communication in Fate. When a person could not be reached via private channels or word channels, someone desperately trying to reach said person could use a messenger pigeon. The message would reach the recipient in the blink of an eye. There were still places where the messenger pigeons could not reach. It could not reach a player who was in a dungeon or who was underground. Messenger pigeons could only be sent if a player had added another player as his or her friends with 2 silver coins per usage as payment. Despite not knowing who the sender was, Yi Si did not reject the message as it was sent via pigeon. It was a message from the 4 who had cleared the hard difficulty Icy Cave with her earlier on. The message read, "Gongzi, a lot of people are asking us questions about who was the one giving out commands. What do we tell them? It's driving us crazy. Just tell them that I was just a passerby. I'll leave the rest to you guys." Yi Si laughed. She was not the only who was being troubled. After releasing the pigeon, a few more arrived. It was from Golden Man, "Let go of that girl, an ideal height 1.7m, they were all asking her about the details of her exploits in the hard difficulty Icy Cave and invited her to join them in exploring the abandoned mine as their progress was hampered. Yi Si replied all their messages without making any promises. Another pigeon arrived right after that. It was from the violent cleric 4Cs, "Gongzi, have you been to the Forest of Stone? We need your help clearing it 2 weeks later." Forest of Stone. Yi Si was puzzled. It was not a very difficult dungeon. Why would 4Cs need 2 weeks to prepare for? Just then, another message arrived from 4Cs. I forgot 2 words, hard difficulty. Are you free to go to hard difficulty Forest of Stone 2 weeks from now? I think I can make it, but I'm not that sure yet. Yi Si replied. Her new semester in college would begin in 1 week. It had been years since she last studied in a college. Although she had forgotten about it, Lu Chang made it a point to remind her. Sure, I will seek help from a couple of my friends as well. Yet another message arrived right after Yi Si managed to reply all the messages directed at her. It was Lu Chang. She was not as courteous as the others. Yi Si could almost see her friend roaring through the letters on the message. Where the hell are you? Get your ass back to the guild encampment. Yi Si could not hold back the laughter that escaped her mouth. She inserted the attributes of the fiery contract in a message to Lu Chang and added a few words, Elven Newbie Village number 42. Sis, I'll be there right away. Lu Chang replied almost immediately. Yi Si could almost see Lu Chang's expression. After dealing with the trouble that unfortunately plagued her, Yi Si could finally craft arrows in peace. A shadow suddenly appeared in front of her accompanied by a soft voice, Excuse me, how much are you selling for a set of arrows? It was a young elf with blonde hair and fair skin. He was looking at Yi Si with his big eyes. He appeared to be a LV5 newbie judging from his newbie clothing and the crude wooden bow that he was holding. You can have it for free. Natasha was selling the wooden arrows at a cheap price. Since Yi Si was practicing her arrow crafting, she decided to give them away to a newbie instead of disposing of it later and waste them. The player was surprised. He stared at Yi Si for quite a while before bowing to her, thank you so much sister. Yi Si handed the 5 sets of wooden arrow to the player and said, You can come back to me if you need more, I'll be here all day long. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. The player was in joy. He accepted the arrows with trembling hands while thanking Yi Si repeatedly. He sent a friend request to Yi Si and said, Sister, I'm Clear Moon, I'm a ranger. Can you add me as a friend? Yi Si did not decline the request. Clear Moon was in a miserable state at that moment, but nobody would know how would he be like in the future. Clear Moon was happy that his friend requested by Yi Si, but he became stupefied right in the next moment. What? Yi Si was puzzled. Sister, you're Gongziyu. Yeah. I've always thought that Gongziyu is a guy. Chapter 23 School begins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yi Si did not know whether to laugh or cry in regards to that black line above her head. You are the Gongziyu who had cleared Icy Cave at difficult stage. The line above Yi Si's head became darker for a few minutes. It couldn't be. Even a newbie knew about this. Big sister, why are you here? Clear Moon looked at Gongzi with his unrestrained excitement. His pair of eyes were sparkling brightly as diamonds. Everyone is looking for you on the World Channel. After contemplating for some time, Yi Si still did not know how to answer him. In the end, she just laughed and said, Don't tell anyone else that I am here. Sure, I won't tell anyone. Big sister, don't worry. Your secret is safe with me. Clear Moon nodded. He winked and laughed at her before he turned and ran away. Finally, she had the time to practice her arrow crafting skill. Today was really too eventful. Yi Si had only practiced her arrow crafting skill for 20 to 30 minutes when she heard the shuffling footsteps heading her way. She lifted her head. Other than Lu Chang, who else could it be? Her smile was like the arrival of spring. Yi Si could feel the goosebumps on her back when she saw that shuddering expression. Hi, my dear little Ci. I'm here. You only have to call once and I will find you immediately. It is even faster than calling your darling. Lu Chang said as she leaned forward to hug Yi Si. Yi Si promptly plopped a skill book on Lu Chang's face, pushing that girl away. Fine. Fine. It is such a hot day, don't be so corny. You're really quite something. You're actually going to give me this book. Lu Chang took the skill book and planted multiple kisses on its cover. It was almost as if she wanted to print her saliva on the cover. Yi Xi checked if there was anyone behind Lu Chang. Before she could say a word, Lu Chang said, "Stop it, no one followed me. Do you think I am stupid? I have closed all my channels. Of course I don't want anyone to find you. I can even hide from the entire world." Lu Chang stuffed the skill book into her backpack. She sat down beside Yi Xi. "Peacock Blue is looking everywhere for you." Peacock Blue. She is the guild member in charge of logistics. Lu Chang replied as she snorted. She is only slightly better looking, but she is so full of herself. What gives her the right to talk to us with her nose in the air? Why is she looking for me? She wondered how Peacock Blue had offended Lu Chang as she looked at her friend's expression. "I am 100% certain that it is because you cleared the icy cave. What else could it be?" When the information was announced, the faces of the whole management level turned green. They were extremely unhappy. Lu Chang continued, snorting again. She complained angrily, "Blue Peacock looked for us immediately. She acted like a queen and told us, you all brought Gongzi Yu in. Now the guild is looking for him, so get him here quickly. You'll all face the consequences if he's late." The smile on Yi Xi's face widened. Face the consequences. That person had a queen complex. She belongs to the management level of the guild. It is normal. Yi Xi did not mind Peacock Blue's remarks. She raised her brow with a teasing look and asked Lu Chang, "What makes you so angry?" "How can I not be angry? Especially that Yi Tsang, he was just like a dog. One word from Peacock Blue and he immediately agrees. Fuck, is he so deprived of women?" Lu Chang became angry and angrier the more she complained, even her face was turning red. Yi Xi chose to keep her views to herself. To some extent, Lu Chang did like Yi Tsang. Maybe, she could not differentiate whether that feeling was romantic or a sort of familial feeling which arose from the time they had known each other. Since she did not make it clear, Yi Xi naturally found it inappropriate to bring that up to embarrass her. She just consoled her with a few choice words. "Little Ci, aren't you even a tad bit angry? How can that woman talk this way?" The more Yi Xi consoled, the more Lu Chang raged with a need to find someone to stand on her side against that enemy. Yi Xi squinted her eyes. She is just a stranger. Why should I get angry over a few words? It isn't as if I will face any consequences just because she says so. Plus, what are the consequences? Even though this was Yi Xi's second life, her personality was still basically quite cold. She did not even care about what Blue Peacock said, so she was naturally not infuriated. "Well, you're open-minded." Lu Chang sighed. Almost instantaneously, she seemed to have received a message. "The guild is inviting me to fight a normal small dungeon, I'm leaving. Didn't you say that you don't want hard labor? Members with 80 GS and above will be rewarded 2 DKP per trip into the dungeon. You can change 1 DPK for $100. This is a deal I won't miss." Lu Chang stood up grinning cheekily again. "I have never earned a cent from any games. Even if I can't get any equipment, I will be pleased to have earned some change." She was someone whose anger came quickly and dissipated just as fast, so Yi Xi was not worried about her little rant. "You can just hide here. I am leaving. I won't tell anyone your location." Lu Chang bid Yi Xi farewell and left to find the teleporting NPC in the village. She disappeared in seconds. After Lu Chang left, she seemed to have also brought away all disturbances. No one else looked for her. She was thankful for the silence and she continued making arrows as if her life depended on it. For the following days, Yi Si did not open her personal channel nor her word channel. She did not return to the guild encampment. She simply grinded through the normal level icy cave over 10 times to level up. She spent her remaining time crafting arrows. When the proficiency level of her beginner arrow crafting reached 35.2%, it stopped increasing. From her observation, crafting additional wooden arrows would not add to her proficiency any longer. She had to find a different component list to create another type of beginner arrow. Even though she spent most of her time in these 2 days crafting arrows and grinding in the icy cave, she also did some other things. Her gathering skill was already at beginner level. She could now gather fire dragon plants, which were required for beginner grade fire resist potion, as well as water caltrop flowers required for beginner grade ice resist potion. These 2 herbs could be found in the difficult level of the icy cave. Yi Si brought OL3 with her as she went into icy cave a few times each day to gather herbs. She spent her days quite happily. When her gathering skill, apothecary skill, skinning skill, and cooking skill had all reached beginner level, her university semester had finally started. Yi Si woke up early in the morning and headed for her university, carrying the bag she prepared the previous day. This was a really weird feeling. Even though she had returned back to 10 years ago, it didn't feel that different because she had always been in Fate. It didn't feel that different at all. Going back to the university was vastly different. She had graduated many years back. She felt very uneasy entering the university at the old age of 28. Yi Si grades were quite good. She had done extremely well for her finals and managed to enter the elite university, D University. Yi Nantian and Zhua Xiaolan felt that it was the outcome of the fortune gathered through the culmination of many incenses placed on their ancestral tomb throughout the generations. As Yi Si rented an apartment near D University, she packed lightly and went ahead to register at the school herself. She did not need the hassle of having her parents accompany her. Many senior students were orientating the new students. They were quite friendly and it did not take long for Yi Si to complete her registration and go to her own class. D University was famous for its environment. The place was wide and spacious, with colorful greenery spreading across the campus and pavilions that littered the space. 9 out of 10 people would think that this was a garden if they had not told that it was a university. Walking along the once familiar path, she easily found her classroom. The lecturer in charge was not here yet and the class was filled with chattering students. D University was one of the top university and they had many students from all over the world. Everyone was curious on the first day. Yi Si was one of the students who arrived later. Those that were early had already stayed in the campus for a week, so they were already familiar with each other. As she did not stay in the hostel, this was her first day here. So many of her classmates were curious. I am Fong Su Su from 612. Which hostel are you living in? I have never seen you. Yi Si had just found an empty seat when a round-faced girl greeted her warmly. Yi Si looked at her as a wave of emotions rushed through her. Fong Su Su was one of the people who treated her very well. She was a good person. However, Yi Si hurted her so badly that she left the country with a downtrodden heart. Yi Si did not want to think about the past. I am Yi Si. I live in an apartment near the school, so I don't stay at the hostel. Yi Si smiled brightly. She offered her hand for a handshake. What a pity. It would be great if you were staying at the hostel. Fong Su Su was a person who easily warmed up to others. It wasn't long before they were acquainted with each other. She even grabbed her bag to sit with Yi Si. Even though they both had very different emotions, they both regretted not knowing each other earlier. They got along well very quickly. Students. Students. A few loud shouts broke the lively chatter in the room. There were 3 or 4 students from some student club standing at the lectern. The leader was a guy in dark blue T-shirt. He had dark hair and his pair of crystal black eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. He wore a warm, gentle smile and his face had a heroic spirit to it. We are from Jingfeng Club, I am the Vice President Qin Churuo. Everyone questioned what Jingfeng Club was. Jingfeng Club was a student club that was formed 5 years ago. Our gaming club is formed by various university students from different years. Qin Churuo spoke with charisma and resolution, which subconsciously attracted many listeners. We have played in various popular games like Seas of Grey L and Wondrous World L, and we have set many great records for multiple categories. Our guild, World Conqueror Guild, is ranked 20th countrywide. Chapter 24 World Conqueror. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Looking at Qin Churuo, Yi Si could only smile bitterly. Some things could never be avoided even after she had been reborn. Have you guys heard about that? Started 20 days ago. It was an age when only gaming was popular among youth. Everybody, of course, have heard about the Fate that was very popular. Almost the entire class answered in unison when Fate was mentioned, yes. A feeling surfaced within Yi Si. It was good to be young. When the students heard about the World Conqueror Guild, they were excited. You could be playing solo without a guild, but there was no way one could not know about the top 20 guilds in the nation. It was a symbol of strength, the metaphor for legends. All of their attention was focused on Qin Churuo as they waited for him to continue his speech. We of the World Conqueror Guild have officially entered during its open beta test and we have already formed our guild in the game. I'm here today to invite all of you to join World Conqueror, a guild of our own campus. Let us fight for our campus, and let us fight for our glory. Excitement boiled within the class. Every student had their own question for Qin Churuo. President, where do I join the guild? In game or in real life? President, which dungeons have you guys cleared? I'm already LV11 but I don't have a guild yet. Can I join up? President, are there any benefits after joining World Conqueror? President, which character class do you guys need? Are there any limitations against the more unpopular character classes? President. Yi Si looked at Fang Shushu. She seemed to be asking Qin Churuo something, and her face was a shade of red. At that moment, Yi Si had a sense of déjà vu. It was as if she had never been reborn, as if she had never grown up and was still in her youth. Yi Si faintly remembered something from a long time ago, something she never had the courage to remember. It was a ridiculous and imaginary relationship between the three of them. She kept Fang Shushu and Qin Churuo apart from each other, using them for her own benefit and then selling them out time after time. What had she done in her past life? Yi Si, you're in a daze. Fang Shushu shook her hands in front of Yi Si after receiving no response from her. What? Yi Si was pulled back into reality. She blinked and stared at Fang Shushu. She was still young and innocent, just like the first time they had met in Yi Si's past life. Ah, why are your hands so cold? Are you sick? Fang Shushu held on to Yi Si's hands, she was surprised by how cold they were. It was September and the weather was unrelenting. No, nothing, I've always been like this. Yi Si immediately hid her emotion, attempting to erase the bad memory from her mind. She smiled at Fang Shushu, don't you worry. What do you need from me? Yi Si, do you play Fate? Of course. Me too. Fang Shushu was happy, as if she had found her soulmate. Let's join the World Conqueror Guild. Yi Si shook her head with a smile, sorry, I am already in a guild. Ah, what a pity. We're so congenial, it's a shame that we can't be in the same guild. How about I? Fang Shushu's train of thoughts was interrupted by Yi Si who shook her head. It's okay. World Conqueror is our campus's own guild. You can consider joining them. I've already made a promise to my childhood friends to join my current guild. I won't be leaving it so soon. Feng Shu did not insist after listening to Yi Si's explanation, although she was feeling slightly intricate about the matter. I've finally met a girl that plays games. If only we could play together. Well, we can add each other in game. My IGN, in.game name, is Gongziyu. Ah, your name is nice. It's like the name of an ancient warrior. Feng Shu was the only one who praised Yi Si's name. My name's Flutter and Sway. Don't forget to add me in. Game. Yi Si nodded. Flutter and Sway. It was a name Yi Si would never forget. Qin Churuo's method of recruitment was very effective. Almost all the students signed up for World Conqueror. Even among the freshmen, at least 70% of them had joined World Conqueror with the exception of the 30% who did not play the game. With an institution such as the university where every one of them eat and sleep together, a person's character could easily be determined. The good ones and the bad ones could easily be identified. It also fostered a sense of belonging as the students interacted together on a daily basis. Even after they graduated, they would never leave the guild as they already had deep ties with it. It was basically shackling them to the guild. The schedule for the first years was more packed. Although it was nothing for Yi Si, she still had to go to classes for her attendance, which greatly reduced her gaming time. On this day, she received a pigeon from 4Cs right after she logged into the game. Say, when are you going to unmute your chat? Was that incident not over yet? It made sense to Yi Si. It had been 20 days since she cleared the hard difficulty Icy Cave. Many would have already forgotten about it. She unmuted her personal channel and word channel, immediately sending a message to 4Cs, the semester has started, I was so busy that I've forgotten about it. Are you still a student? Yes. Technically. Are you free to go to hard difficulty Stone Forest 3 days from now? It was a weekend. I'm free, replied Yi Si. Good, I'll contact you after 3 days. 4Cs was not long-winded, and the conversation ended shortly. Wow, sister, you finally unmuted your private message channel. A voice rang in Yi Si's ears right after 4Cs ended his conversation with her. It was Clear Moon. Yi Si was curious. His timing was too perfect. How did you know I've unmuted my private message channel? I've been sending you messages every day, and it finally got through today. Clear Moon was very happy. Clear Moon would look for Yi Si every day ever since she gifted him the arrows. All he wanted to do was to talk to her and tell her the stories of his exploits and adventures in the game. Although his leveling progress was slow, he completed every single quest patiently without complaint. He had even received a hidden quest and was rewarded with the skill mining upon completing the quest. He would mine for ores every day with his pickaxe aside from questing and leveling up. Before Yi Si could direct a question at him, Clear Moon told her about everything he had come across in the past 2 days as if he was delivering a report. He was getting better and better at mining ores. Yi Si was not bored by such talk that others would normally find petty. Instead, she was intrigued. In her past life, should anyone nag at her non-stop, she would have been pissed off, but the new Yi Si felt warmth. It was the kind of warmth one would feel from the dependency of others. She did not interrupt Clear Moon. Oh yes, sister, the blacksmith gave me another quest. Another hidden quest. What is the quest about? The blacksmith said that if I could give him 100 ores with the quality of 20 and above, he would teach me the skill, forging. Clear Moon was jovial, I am 2 ores away from acquiring the skill. Yi Si was surprised. A newbie learning the skill mining in the newbie village was already surprising enough, but Clear Moon could even learn forging. Yi Si had always thought that she knew a lot about the game. It seemed to her that her knowledge regarding fate was only the tip of the iceberg. Clear Moon was persistent, but it was his persistence that allowed him to acquire 2 skills that no one had ever expected to learn. Clear Moon let out a surprised yelp which startled Yi Si. What happened? Sister. I've gotten another piece of ore with the quality above 20. I need only one more. Talk to you later, I'm going to resume mining. With that, Clear Moon cut off the voice connection and continued mining. Meanwhile, Yi Si decided to have a look at Sandy Plains. Chapter 25 Sandstorm Scorpion. You're listening at NovelFull.audio. Sandy Plains was situated near the human race's Sunset City. It was not a fertile land. Howling winds blew over the plains constantly, creating sandstorm that obstructed one's vision. The in-game timer was at sunset when Yi Si arrived at Sandy Plains. The setting sun was like a huge ball of fire that scorched the land. Yi Si could only squint at the road as she made her way to the flowing sand village. She purchased a gauze cap from the tailor with 1 silver coin. The cap had no special uses aside from shielding its wearer against the raging sandstorm. Yi Si was relieved after putting on the cap. She traveled into the depth of Sandy Plains from Flowing Sand Village with OL3, the latter of whom had reached 80 loyalty points. Sandy Plains was the map hosting the dungeon Forest of Stone. There were not many players around as the minimum level requirement for the players to enter the dungeon was LV8. If they followed the flow of their main quest, they would have reached here by the time they were at least LV11 or LV12. That was why Yi Si didn't encounter many other players on her way to her destination aside from a few parties. Yi Si was not in a hurry. Her main aim was not the Forest of Stone. She was going after the wild boss of Sandy Plains, Sandstorm Scorpion. Sandstorm Scorpion was a LV15 boss that spawns once every 10 days. If it was not defeated within 3 days of its appearance, it would disappear until the next reset. Yi Si had been keeping track of Wild World bosses ever since Fate was launched. Although the LV5 wild boss Rabid Boar was slain, there was no news regarding the Sandstorm Scorpion. The position of the Sandstorm Scorpion played an important role. There were no monsters in the Sandy Plains except for some LV1 and occasionally LV2 yellow-named, neutral monsters. The players arriving at the place were at least LV10. They had no time for the neutral monsters. Their goal was the Forest of Stone dungeon. Besides that, the Sandstorm Scorpion was well hidden. It was hidden beneath the sands and would never attack unless a player directly stepped on it. Yi Si walked as slow as possible on the warm and soft sand. She had deviated quite far from the Forest of Stones and was the only one within visual range. This was where the Sandstorm Scorpion was hiding itself. In a quiet and isolated corner of the Sandy Plains, a boss that was sought after by countless players in the later stages of the game, Sandstorm Scorpion, laid in wait. The sands beneath Yi Si's feet gave way all of a sudden. It appeared. Yi Si leapt backwards like a kite unaffected by gravity. OL3 was already on the move, casting taunt on the shifting sands. Yi Si had also casted her Hunter's Mark and Snake Venom Needle in the blink of an eye. Critical. Armor penetration .571. Yi Si laughed at the damage she dealt. Critical strikes and armor penetration were rare against a world boss, but her first attack achieved just that. She performed several attacks in the blink of an eye, heavily damaging the Sandstorm Scorpion which had yet emerged from the sand. The Sandstorm Scorpion was agitated. It crawled out of the sands, raising its 2 gigantic pincers and tail stinger with angry hisses. It ignored OL3's taunt and charged straight at Yi Si. The boss was 3 to 5 times larger than OL3. It appeared intimidating with its black carapace gleaming underneath the red sun. Yi Si was fast, but the Sandstorm Scorpion was even faster than her. Just as it was about to grab Yi Si, she jumped onto one of its pincers and somersaulted away. The Sandstorm Scorpion grew even more agitated and this process repeated several times. Its red eyes glared at Yi Si menacingly. Yi Si repeated again the maneuver she had been using on the scorpion but immediately felt a sharp pain. She was stung. You have been poisoned. The system notification chimed in, announcing Yi Si's status. She creased her eyebrows and jumped onto a poplar tree not far away. The sandstorm scorpion was still charging at Yi Xi angrily in the direction of the tree. As Yi Xi landed in front of the poplar tree, she could hear a loud crack from behind her. A smile formed on Yi Xi's lips. She had succeeded. She turned around slowly while chugging down a health potion and chuckled at her handiwork. The upper torso of the sandstorm scorpion was stuck in between a few poplar trees. The branches were like a steel cage, entrapping the sandstorm scorpion. Its two pincers were entangled between the branches and its stinger was trapped as well. It could do nothing but hiss angrily at Yi Xi. A Wild World boss was far superior than a boss in the dungeons. They had a very low spawn rate and were way tougher than a dungeon boss of the same level. A more important factor was that world bosses had a wider movement area in the wild, gravely increasing their lethality. Of course, a Wild World boss would drop rare loot such as mounts, special accessories, and treasure maps. Those were things that normal bosses could never produce. That was also a main reason why players would camp at the spawn locations of world bosses at the later stages of Fate. Yi Xi bandaged the sole of her foot and directed OL-3 towards the sandstorm scorpion, allowing it to attack at will. The scorpion was too venomous. If not for her fast reaction time as well as the large amount of health potions she carried, Yi Xi would have died right there and then. The strategy of trapping the sandstorm scorpion between the poplar trees was not originally Yi Xi's idea. She had learnt it from a video that was taken down by Fate officials 3 minutes right after its release. They claimed that it was a bug exploitation. The bug took 3 whole days to be rectified after the release of the video. Within that period of time, Yi Xi did nothing but train vigorously to achieve the bug. She finally mastered the art after dozens of times. By the time the bug was repaired, Yi Xi had already memorized all the necessary steps. It was because of her practice that Yi Xi that could easily entrap the sandstorm scorpion at LV12. After burning through 3 bottles of large health potions and dozens of bandages, Yi Xi finally escaped from the verge of death. Staring at the few bandages she had left, she decided to hand more fabrics to Flutter and Sway for her to craft more bandages. Life is precious. Yi Xi stood up and walked up to a spot where she could have the best view of the sandstorm scorpion. She began to fire arrow after arrow at the boss. Wild World bosses were indeed rare creatures. The sandstorm scorpion, at LV15, had an astonishing 800,000 hit points. It took her approximately 4 hours to finish off the sandstorm scorpion. As usual, the system allowed Yi Xi the choice of revealing her name, to which she declined. Red words flooded the system channel. Player XXX have successfully slain the LV15 Wild World boss, Sandstorm Scorpion, alone and survived. Special rewards. Global Prestige Points X 3000, Sunset City Prestige Points X 10,000, 100 Gold Coins, 3 Talent Points. Player XXX have successfully slain the LV15 Wild World boss, Sandstorm Scorpion, alone and survived. Special rewards. Global Prestige Points X 3000, Sunset City Prestige Points X 10,000, 100 Gold Coins, 3 Talent Points. The World Channel and official forums went mad. It was not because of the 3 Talent Points, nor was it because of the Wild World boss. It was because of the word alone. World bosses was synonymous to meat grinders. And someone had slain a world boss alone. How could the players not go crazy with this news? The madness and mayhem had nothing to do with Yi Xi. At that moment, there was only one word that could describe her, and the word was, tired. She was so tired that she almost threw up. Yi Xi could no longer feel her arms. Her stamina was still lacking. She was lucky she had the overpowered skill that could replenish her mana. A normal person would not be able to last 3 to 4 hours of continuous attack without consuming vast amounts of mana potions. Chapter 26 Brooch of Deceit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Free's mood was becoming terrible. It did not even acknowledge Yi Si as she threw a few pieces of roasted meat at it. Yi Si rubbed her hands and walked up to the sandstorm scorpion's corpse. Dear God, I've already been shrouded by bad luck for so long. Please let me be lucky just this once. Yi Si muttered under her breath and began looting the sandstorm scorpion's corpse. Scorpion Stinger X1 Venomous Scorpion Armor X1 Venomous Scorpion Headband X1 Venomous Scorpion Gauntlet X1 Brooch of Deceit X1 Mysterious Treasure Map X1 Gold Coins X6 29 High Health Potion X7 High Mana Potion X9 Rage Potion X7 Defense Potion X6 The moment Yi Si's hands touched the corpse, a long list of loot appeared before her eyes, and she shouted excitedly, Dear God, you've finally graced me with your blessing. Thanks for not letting me go home empty-handed. As she read the long list of loot, she could only mumble dumbfoundedly, Oh my God, oh my God. Each world boss would produce their exclusive armor set. A typical armor set in Fate had 8 components, which were headgear, shoulder guard, mantle, armor, belt, gauntlet, leggings, and boots. Some of the armor sets would have 9 components with weapon included. Sandstorm Scorpion was one such boss that produced a 9-component armor set. Yi Si could not believe that she got 4 out of the 9 components in one go. What's more, the weapon that came with the armor set, the gear with the lowest drop rate of them all, was one of her loot. Of course, Yi Si was not shocked because of that, but rather the appearance of an item, Brooch of Deceit. Brooch of Deceit. Unique attribute. Allows user to randomly change appearance. Class, race, gender and level are randomized, unique attribute. Allows user to hide massacre value. Unique attribute. Greatly empowers the user's sly trait, you will be able to trick all NPCs. All world bosses had a unique loot item, and the one dropped by Sandstorm Scorpion was Brooch of Deceit. With the Brooch of Deceit, Yi Si could change her appearance, level, class, and race at any time. She could even hide her massacre value. This was the item that every red-named player could dream of, and it was one of the main reasons why Sandstorm Scorpion was one of the most sought-after boss in Fate. However, the drop rate for Brooch of Deceit was just too low, with the drop rate of a mere 1 out of 100,000. Again, this did not mean that players would definitely get it after killing Sandstorm Scorpion for 100,000 times. Yi Si noticed one of the Brooch of Deceit's attribute. Sly was one of her character's personality trait. This meant that she would be able to hide her stats even from the NPC. Yi Si almost shouted out in joy. The Brooch of Deceit was one of her greatest discoveries. She took a look at the other Venomous Scorpion armor set. Venomous Scorpion Stinger. Short sword. Purple equipment attack speed. 1.5 attack. 129.180 strength plus 16 agility plus 123 balance plus 125 perception plus 125 special attribute. Target has 20% chance of being poisoned, target will receive continuous damage, lasts for 12 seconds. Special attribute. 5% chance of stunning target, lasts for 5 seconds. Special attribute. Additional 5% armor penetration required level. 20 class. Ranger, Rogue, Hunter, Druid Venomous Scorpion Armor. Clothing Purple Equipment Defense. 585 Strength plus 89 Endurance plus 85 Intelligence plus 70 Agility plus 92 Balance plus 90 Special Attribute. 30% resistance against poison. Special attribute. Increased defense value by 50%, lasts for 8 seconds, passive, required level. 20 class. Ranger, Rogue, Hunter, Druid Venomous Scorpion Headband. Headwear Purple Equipment Defense. 298 Endurance plus 67 Stamina plus 65 Intelligence plus 60 Agility plus 71 Perception plus 71 Special Attribute. 50% bonus to Night Vision Special Attribute. Detection. Can see through any enemy movements, lasts for 15 seconds, cooldown 30 seconds. Required level 20 class. Ranger, Rogue Hunter, Druid Venomous Scorpion Gauntlet. Gauntlet purple equipment defense. 325 endurance plus 80 stamina plus 68 strength plus 73 agility plus 80 balance plus 80 perception plus 80 special attribute. 10% chance of blocking melee damage special attribute. 20% chance of poisoning enemies, lasts for 12 seconds. Passive, required level 20 class. Ranger, Rogue, Hunter, Druid purple equipment was the best pre.LV60 equipment in Fate. It was way superior than blue equipment. The Sandstorm Scorpion armor set had far more attributes than Yi Si's equipment. It even came with passive and active skills, which were good tools in combat. From the 4 pieces of equipment, she already had 2 poison-based skills, a defensive skill, and an OP skill, detection. It was a shame that she had not reached the level requirement to equip these equipment. The huge experience points awarded for killing the Sandstorm Scorpion raised her level to LV14 with 75% progress. It was still a far cry from the required LV20. Post-LV10 leveling progress was rather slow. Players could only grind the game non-stop to level up. Even with countless trips to the Icy Cave, Yi Si could only raise her level up to LV12. It showed that leveling was very tough at this point. The mysterious treasure map could only be identified after being appraised by an appraiser in the city. After collecting all the loots into her inventory, Yi Si pinned the Brooch of Deceit to her chest and a small icon immediately appeared at the lower right corner of her vision. She clicked the icon softly and the system notification rang in her ears. Disguise successful. Yi Si was disguised as a LV20 Orcish druid with a magical staff. Her GS was also raised to 267 from 110. A sudden realization struck Yi Si. She took the venomous scorpion stinger out of her inventory and attempted to equip it. She succeeded. Yi Si's assumption was correct. After disguising her actual level, she could equip any equipment that she could not equip with her current level. Was this a bug? In Yi Si's perspective, a bug was something that could be exploited by everybody. But since this advantage was one given to her and her alone, even if it was a bug, Yi Si would not report it. Yi Si equipped the 4 venomous scorpion equipment set under the guise of the LV20 druid. Her GS soared past the 400 mark, reaching an astonishing 472 points. In a time where the average player GS was only 100, her GS was insanely high. Yi Si cancelled her disguise, and shot an arrow at the nearest LV2 scorpion. Critical hit point 1261. It was a one-hit KO. Yi Si briefly calculated her damage and discovered that it was raised from approximately 100 to over 550. It was a great improvement of combat strength. 2 fists were no match for 4 hands. Despite having such superior equipment, her appearance would attract attention and people might want to kill her for her armor. After contemplating her situation, Yi Si disguised her GS as 85, and her armor's appearance was also altered. Humans were afraid of being famous, while pigs were afraid of growing strong. With her disguise, Yi Si was satisfied. Yi Si wasted no time in contacting the online customer service. After selecting a few options, a warm and kind voice rang in her ears. "Hi, I am Z Nation customer service number 79246, how may I be of assistance?" Yi Si looked at the corpse of the Sandstorm Scorpion, and explained to the customer service word by word about the Sandstorm Scorpion's bug. The operator was stunned for quite a while before replying, "Are you reporting a bug for Sandstorm Scorpion?" "Yes." "Please wait, I will contact the manager on duty of the development team." The customer service operator replied before disappearing. Yi Si waited patiently. She gathered the carapace, meat, venom sac, and other innards from the Sandstorm Scorpion's corpse and stored them into her inventory. The very corpse of a world boss was a treasure trove. They were all priceless materials in the later stages of the game. Yi Ci originally planned to exploit the Sandstorm Scorpion BUG for a few more times, but she was deterred by the possibility of being discovered by Fate's high-end system. If she repeated the process and again, the system might automatically record her actions and report the bug to the development team. The development team would definitely fix the bug right away and confiscate all her loots. If she was the one who took the initiative to report the BUG, she could keep all her loots and might even receive some special reward. And of course, Yi Ci did not believe in her own luck. She did not believe that she would be able to get any more than she already had with her luck. It would be great loss for her if the bug was discovered by the system. This was why humans must always be happy with what they have to ensure a happy life. Even if Yi Ci did not report the BUG, it would still be discovered by somebody else eventually. She might as well report it earlier and get the rewards of turning in a bug for herself. Chapter 27 Customer Service Number 094. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Just when Yi Ci was busy dissecting the Sandstorm Scorpion, a LVL-1 human Smurf suddenly appeared 3 meters in front of her. After logging in, the first thing he did was to turn around and survey his surroundings. It was after confirming his coordinates did he notice the inelegant Yi Ci who was currently squatting by the side, butchering the Sandstorm Scorpion. That human Smurf stared at Yi Ci's butchering fearlessly for a moment before clearing his throat to greet her so as to capture her attention. Nice to meet you, I am the manager from the development team of Fate L, customer service number 094. Actually, from the moment number 094 appeared, Yi Ci, who had her sensitivity heightened by her equipment, had already noticed his existence. However, as she was busy trying to remove the poison sac from the Sandstorm Scorpion, she didn't have the time to bother about him. Now, sitting on the carcass of the Sandstorm Scorpion, which was hanging on a desert poplar tree, Yi Ci stared at number 094 with a smile. To think that it would be number 094 receiving her. There were a total of 400 customer service Smurfs in Fate's development team and they numbered from 001 to 400. These customer service Smurfs follow these developers for life. Even if they were to leave the game and Glory Corporation, these customer service Smurfs will be retained for them forever. Fate's customer service number 094 was probably still an unexceptional development assistant at the moment. However, 3 years from now, he would become one of the chief developer of Fate. Although not a single player might know of his existence right now, 3 years later, countless gamers will have his name etched their heads. He was the chief developer of Fate's second update, Another World, and it was due to this very update that Fate managed to accommodate to all age groups over the world. If one had to list some unforgettable names which had appeared in the history of Fate, then customer service No. 094 was definitely at the top of the list. Even until now, Yi Ci still remembered the words of a human priest that number 094 said through an update CG. Give me 3 seconds, and I will bring you to an entirely different world. I am Fate. Perhaps, Yi Ci wasn't the only one who remembered these words. Perhaps, all of the players in Fate remembered these words. Yes, they remembered these words, Fate, as well as the human priest who said them. Fate customer service number 094, Wang Jiangnan. Nice to meet you. May I ask if you were the one who reported the BUG? Wang Jiangnan was extremely polite. Seeing Yi Ci staring at him, he had scratched his head awkwardly before greeting her. This was the first time Wang Jiangnan had met a player reporting a BUG. Very possibly, this was the first bug which had appeared since the inception of Fate. This made the development team pay particular importance to it. One must know that they had conducted tests on every single detail of the game more than several hundred times. Although they couldn't claim that their system was entirely flawless, a major BUG wouldn't appear so easily at the very least. Thus, when Yi Ci reported this bug to the customer service lady, Wang Jiangnan, who was on shift, came to look at this bug without hesitation. Yi Xi narrowed her eyes as she nodded her head. Yes, I am the one who reported the bug. Is this with regards to the Sandstorm Scorpion bug? Seeing Yi Xi answer his questions, Jiang Wangnan opened the development system to check on the logs. Yes, that's how I reported it. Wang Jiangnan stared at the development system for a moment before pausing suddenly. Then, he raised his head and stared at Yi Xi with an astonished expression. Did you kill this Sandstorm Scorpion alone just now? There is this panther as well. Yi Xi pointed at her pet. OL-3 immediately growled and stretched its back to make its existence known. Jiang Wangnan stared speechless at the elf huntress sitting on the Sandstorm Scorpion. Then, he seemed to have suddenly recalled something. He typed Yi Xi's ID out on the development system and soon, all of the actions Yi Xi did ever since her entry into Fate is appeared on the interface. Actually, a typical developer wouldn't do such a thing as it was too troublesome. Furthermore, if he didn't carry it out properly, he could be sued by the player for revealing their personal information, consequently causing him to be punished by the company. At worst, he might be jailed. However, Jiang Wangnan couldn't help but be curious about the previous deeds of a player who used a bug to kill a Sandstorm Scorpion and reported it right after. After looking through Yi Xi's log, Jiang Wangnan no longer felt puzzled by how Yi Xi could have possibly found the bug. There were many kinds of players. Some players would play the game within the boundaries determined for them, while some would break the rules of the game to create their own. There were even those who would ascend beyond the rules of the game and used everything they could lay their hands on to create their own glory. It was apparent that the huntress before him was the third type of player. There were normally two types of ending for these kind of players. They could end up banned or. Number 094, it can't be that you are reading through my logs. That is against the rules and regulations. Upon seeing Wang Jiangnan busying himself and sneaking occasional glances towards her, she couldn't help but guess his actions. The moment her words landed, Jiang Wangnan immediately panicked and closed down Yi Xi's logs. I didn't. Jiang Wangnan tried to hide the fact that he had been exposed by Yi Xi. After which, he cleared his throat again and said, I thank you for your help on our negligence on behalf of Fate's customer service team. We will. Traces will be left behind in the system when one checks a player's logs. A player can apply for an inquiry into these traces. Say, do you think that I should apply for one now? Upon seeing Wang Jiangnan's dodgy appearance, Yi Xi could ascertain that he was looking at her logs a moment ago. The edges of her lips curled up into a faint smile as she started to threaten the customer service number 094, which had yet to make his name, Wang Jiangnan. She was thinking of the fact that a few years from now, if she were to tell others that she had once blackmailed Wang Jiangnan, what kind of expressions would be awaiting her. Wang Jiangnan freezes for a moment. Then, the corners of his lips twitched. What did he just say? There were some players who would ascend beyond the rules of the game and use everything they could lay their hands on to create their own glory. It was obvious to see that he is about to turn into something usable to this huntress before him. The Glory Corporation did not demarcate the job scope of the development team clearly and granted them too much authority. Initially, the purpose of it was to avoid risk, but never would they expect that it would be exploited now as a stepping stone to step over their heads. Just like that, the two of them stared at one another, as if it would never end until one of them died. What kind of help do you need from me? In the end, Wang Jiangnan sighed helplessly and asked Yi Xi irritatedly. Then, he further added, within the scope of my abilities, I can grant you some rewards. However, this reward must not destroy the balance of the game. So, what can I help you with? There were so many restrictions even to granting a reward. Yi Xi frowned and asked, then, my beloved customer service number 094, stop giving me so much empty talk. What can you give me? After pondering for a moment, Wang Jiangnan retrieved a shiny egg from his bag and threw it to Yi Xi. This is the best reward that I can give you within the limits of my abilities. Yi Xi caught the egg, which was about the size of a bowling ball. She wanted to take a look at its attributes, but what she got in return was: "This is a mysterious egg. This is a pet egg. It just happens that you are a huntress, so you are able to use it. However, I cannot guarantee you what would hatch from it. By chance." "That's right, by chance." Wang Jiangnan nodded his head. Then, he recorded the coordinates for the bug and the incident into the development system before hurriedly bidding Yi Xi farewell. If he were to continue interacting with this huntress, who knew what kind of mess would arise from it? Just when he was about to log off, he suddenly thought of something. He gazed at Yi Xi, who was busy studying the egg, and said, "I want to ask you something. If fate were to come up with trailer, what kind of contents would you like to see?" Actually, Fate's first trailer was already in the midst of its development. In regards to it, Wang Jiannan was only in charge of the minor details. He knew that with his identity, he might be unable to become a chief developer in his entire life. Even so, he couldn't resist visioning it, about what would happen if he were to become the chief planner one day. Today, meeting Yi Xi and reading through her glorious past events, he suddenly wanted to know the thoughts of a player who ascended beyond the rules of the game. Yi Xi found this extremely sensationally wondrous. For a chief planner of fate who would shine 3 years from now to ask about her opinion on the game, no matter how one looks at the matter, it was a wondrous interaction. She kept the egg and stared at Wang Jiangnan seriously. His eyes were passionate and resolute. A person with such gaze would definitely meet with success. Regardless of whether time had flowed back or whether he had met her, he would definitely succeed in life. Yi Xi laughed. That was a sincere laughter without any meaning behind it. She straightened her body and imitated the actions of Wang Jiangnan in the CG, "Give me 3 seconds, and I will bring you to an entirely different world. I am fate." This was the action of Wang Jiangnan back then. However, at this moment, when Wang Jiangnan gazed at Yi Xi as she performed those actions, the agitation rippling through his heart could not be described through ink. His lips trembled as he shot a wide smile towards Yi Xi, "Thank you. Give me 3 seconds, and I will bring you to an entirely different world. I am fate." This time, Wang Jiangnan didn't stop. He waved at Yi Xi and disappeared soon afterwards, bringing along indescribable agitation and motivation with him. After sending away Wang Jiangnan, Yi Xi continued to dissect the sandstorm scorpion. It took her half an hour before she finished stuffing the items she had retrieved from the sandstorm scorpion into her bag. Satisfied with her returns, she walked back to Red Lake City. Although the 10,000 Sunset City reputation was rewarded to her by the system, she did not intend to bind her city recalling crystal to Sunset City. After all, she had been doing quests in Red Lake City for almost 20 days by now, and she almost had sufficient reputation to activate the city official system. Throwing everything in her inventory into the storage, Yi Xi walked towards the auction house. This was a habit she had cultivated whenever she walked into large cities. Chapter 28 Peacock Blue. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When a person was reborn 10 years back into the past, what would he or she do? Studies speculated that it was to make investments in things. Things like property, the stock market, and pork. Yi Xi was no exception to such behavior. Her only problem was that she did not have the funds in real life. Her greatest hobby was to hang out at the auction houses and stock up on rubbish. Of course, those things were rubbish as no one knew of their true value. Every single piece of rubbish acquired by Yi Xi would be worth a fortune 10 years into the future. Sellers sold them at 1 or 2 gold coins, sometimes even a few silver coins. If they knew about the truth, they would have gone crazy. Yi Xi had always felt that she did not behave like a woman. She did not like shopping, did not like jewelries, and hated to have to shop for clothings. But in the auction house, she was a real woman. She would fight to the end for whatever she had her eyes on to the end. Herbs, gem shards, enchanted materials. Nothing could escape her sharp eyes. Yi Si would always put her loots on sale in the auction house anonymously after her big purchase. When she thought about it, she realized that she had been quite the wastrel. With her loot from the dungeon every day, she could have made at least 1,000 gold coins per day, but she had spent all the money stocking up on things. With her inventory full of items, Yi Si headed to the largest bank in Red Lake City. "Give me another vault, the one with 50 slots." Yi Si slapped 500 gold coins in front of the bank's clerk. "Ah, Miss Gongziyu, it's good to see you again," the clerk said to Yi Si with flattery written all over his face. If it was not for the uniform the clerk was wearing, Yi Si was certain that it would even wag its tail at Yi Si. It was not easy to trigger such behavior by the bank clerk. There were some conditions to be met. One's prestige in Red Lake City must reach friendly, and more importantly, one must be rich and have spent a lot of money on the Red Lake City Bank. In Yi Si's case, the vault she had bought in the bank exceeded the value of 5,000 gold coins. She was a major customer, which was why the bank staff treated her so well. Yi Si dumped all the items into the storage and, before she had the time to sort them out, a private message rang in her ears, "Little Si, are you there?" It was Yi Tsang. There was a hint of odd cautiousness in his voice. "I'm here, anything. Are you free right now?" "Sure," replied Yi Si without pausing her task at hand. "Can you come to the guild encampment?" To the guild encampment. Yi Si had not been there for a long time. She had even forgotten that she was a member of the guild. "Is there anything you need help with? Sister Blue wants you back here. She said that there's something she needs to discuss with you." Yi Tsang's voice was soft, as if he was intentionally suppressing it. Sister Blue. Yi Si could not remember the name. She's the guild admin, Sister Blue. Yi Tsang's voice became even more softer to the point where Yi Si was having a hard time listening to him. "Okay, I'll be there," replied Yi Si. She guessed that Yi Tsang was in a very awkward situation and therefore did not question him much. Yi Si sighed at the state of disarray her storage was in. She had no choice but to postpone in sorting out the mess. She walked towards a guild NPC and paid a few silver coins to be transported back to the guild encampment. The encampment had a lot more buildings than Yi Si could remember, and the original facilities had also been upgraded. Thousand Sunsets invested quite a lot in the guild. Yi Si was lost. She did not know where to find Yi Tsang. Before she could contact him, however, she heard a voice not far from her. It was a shrill, angry female voice. "What's with your friend? He secretly cleared dungeons and get first blood for it," muting himself when the guild ordered her back to the encampment. "He's not even here yet. Who does he think he is? Is his dadly gang? What the hell? He thought that I don't have the guts to kick him out from the guild. Let me tell you something, Lefty, what we need in Steel-Blooded Battle Axe is teamwork, not some individualistic prick." Yi Si leaned at the door frame while assessing the situation. A human cleric beside Lefty was complaining non-stop and the latter listened silently with his head bowed. Yi Si knew the human female cleric. It was Peacock Blue. It was the Sister Blue that was mentioned by Yi Tsang. Peacock Blue, the administrator of Steel-Blooded Battle Axe. She was a beauty. In a guild where males were the majority, her looks was something to be proud of. This was why she was arrogant. The guys in the guild treated her like a princess. Yi Si knew that she had greatly offended Peacock Blue. Yi Tsang helplessly listened on, unable to defend himself. Yi Si knocked softly on the door. The sound was not loud, but it was enough to announce the presence of a third person in the room. Lefty raised his head and saw Yi Si. He was truly glad to see her, but before he could greet her, Peacock Blue exploded. "Who the hell are you? Why are you here? Can't you see this is the administrator's office? I'm busy here. Where's your discipline? Which squad are you from? Tell me your name. Yi Si stared at Peacock Blue, who was seething with anger. She did not even flinched. She smiled at Peacock Blue and smiled, I'm Gongzi Yu. So what? Which squad are you from? I will punish you for insubordination. Peacock Blue continued to grumble a bit more before stopping abruptly. She looked at Yi Si up and down and shouted, You are Gongzi Yu. You're a girl. Yi Si touched the tip of her elven ears and smiled, if the system did not scan my features wrongly, yes. I'm a girl. Peacock Blue was speechless. She glared at Yi Si without uttering a single word. Nobody would be able to maintain their composure when they were caught talking behind someone's back. What do you want from me? The guild is organizing an expedition into the chilly wetland dungeons. We'll begin clearing the first dungeon, Cruel Pit, in 3 days. All guild members with 100 GS must be present, said Peacock Blue with distaste in her tone. My GS is only at 85. Yi Si sighed and showed her character information, which was already disguised by the brooch of deceit. Peacock Blue's brows creased. Gongzi Yu's equipment were garbage. So how could someone like her clear icy cave at hard difficulty? It seemed that she was just lucky to have a good party. This did not faze Peacock Blue at all. I don't care. This is an order from the guild leader. Even if your GS is not 100 yet, you'll still be a substitute. With that, she left the room. She could not understand Sunset Cloud's attention to such an individual. Lefty let out a breath that he had been holding after Peacock Blue left. He smiled awkwardly at Yi Si and said, Little Si, don't mind Sister Blue. She's an admin. Sometimes she need to state her authority. She has nothing against you. Yi Si nodded and said to Lefty, Yi Tsang, not everyone is suitable for you even if they might look good. Don't hurt yourself for something that's not worth it. Little Si, what do you mean? Lefty was confused. Yi Si did not elaborate. She could see that Yi Tsang liked Peacock Blue. When a man was afraid of such arrogant women, it was usually due to the fact that he liked her, not because of her abilities. However, there were times when like doesn't necessarily mean suitable. Yi Tsang's case was the perfect example. Yi Si had never been afraid of such empty threats. She could totally ignore Peacock Blue, but she decided to go with the guild. The reason was none other than Peacock Blue's words. What we need in Steel-Blooded Battle Axe is teamwork, not some individualistic prick. Translator's note. 1. My dad is Li Gang. It was an incident back in October 16, 2010. A car was speeding in campus and was involved in a hit-and-run accident. When intercepted by guards and students at the campus gate, the driver, the son of a Chinese official named Li Qiming, shouted, which meant, sue me if you can, my dad is Li Gang. It immediately became trolling material for Chinese netizens. GS. Equipment rating DKP. Guild contribution points. Chapter 29. A citizen of Red Lake City. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Individualism. No teamwork. Yi Si was reminded of her last life. She was always alone and she never accepted any friendship. As a result, she was rejected by everyone. Even if Steel-Blooded Battle Axe was not something she wanted, she felt that she had no right to be rebellious. She could never forget what the Glory Corporation said to her. Fate is not about an individual. Only with the help of your most trusted comrades can you stand at the top of the world. She took in a deep breath. Since she had made her decisions, there were matters that she needed to attend to. She contacted 4Cs. There was no story without coincidences. Before she could contact 4Cs, she received a message from him. Gongzi, I'm so sorry. We might need to delay our appointment. I've received orders from my guild. We're going into the chilly wetlands tomorrow. It was a beautiful coincidence, but it was bound to happen. Most of the players have reached LV10, and the chilly wetland dungeons were the ones first post.LV10 dungeon to be explored. Many guilds had made preparations for expeditions into the chilly wetland. It's okay, I was about to contact you as well. My guild had an expedition planned into the cruel pit 3 days later. What a coincidence. Which guild are you in? Steel, Blooded Battle Axe. Ah, the guild that is quite famous lately. Forces was a veteran gamer, so he knew almost anything happening in the game. You must be part of the main force. I'm just a substitute. If Yi could see Forces' expression, she would be amazed. Forces was shocked beyond belief. He stood still with mouth agape. How strong Steel, Blooded Battle Axe really is. Even you are a substitute, asked Forces. Yi did not answer directly. She did not know the guild's true strength, and she was never one to gossip. She hung up after talking briefly with Forces. With her inconvenience settled, Yi decided to make some preparations despite being a substitute. No battles could be won without preparations. In the following days, Yi gathered a lot of fabric and sent them to Flutter and Sway to be made into bandages. She then headed to the Forest of Stone. The first blood of Forest of Stone was already taken by a secretive organization called Kane's Wrath, but this did not reduce Yi enthusiasm towards the dungeon. Blue equipment was always inferior to purple equipment. With Yi previous damage output based on blue equipment, it was hard for her to clear the Forest of Stone. With the venomous scorpion equipment set in OL3, however, she steamrolled the dungeon easily. She couldn't help but let out a whistle after defeating the boss John. Purple equipments. With them, it was almost a massacre. Before having such equipment, Yi could not clear Forest of Stone unharmed. Yi's eyes lit up after receiving book from the boss. It was a skill book. Rapid Fire, Level 1. Unleashes an hunter's innate ability, each arrow fired will turn into 4 arrows. Required level 12. Rapid Fire was one of the most important hunter skill. A level 1 Rapid Fire can shoot 4 consecutive arrows. When it was maxed out at LV15, it can fire 20 arrows at one go. With critical hits, the damage dealt to a target would be enormous. Yi was jovial. The drop rate for the skill book was 2%. This was the first time Yi had come across this skill book despite all her past life's experiences. Yi clapped her hands together and the book vanished into a flash of white light, entering her body. Other than quest items such as Lemmy's doll and John's right hand, Yi received some other equipments as well, but only a ring caught Yi's eyes. Ring of Unjust. Blue equipment strength plus 5 stamina plus 5 intelligence plus 8 required level 12. Although it was a ring mainly for mages, it was better than nothing. The additional 5 points of strength would be of much help to Yi. After putting everything into her inventory, Yi returned to Red Lake City. John's right hand was the third quest item for Yi's quest. She could hand it to the mayor of any major city and would subsequently be rewarded huge amounts of prestige points in that city. Yi, of course, handed it to the mayor of Red Lake City. Ah, young huntress, I'm impressed. The mayor adjusted his spectacles and, with a face full of disgust, took a look at John's right hand that was laying there. This is John's right hand all right. You're a brave lad. Okay, this thing is disgusting, take it away. Yi picked the hand up and stored it back into her inventory. Okay, you can get your rewards from the administration official. He'll give you your reward. With that the mayor left the room. Yi bowed at the mayor half-heartedly and left. The administration official was way more generous than the mayor. He rewarded Yi greatly after receiving John's right hand. Red Lake City Prestige Points x 2000, Gold Coins x 1000, talent points X2. Yi Si's prestige in Red Lake City soared to intimate from friendly within an instant. This meant that she could receive a lot more quests in the city. She could also unlock the military rank system for Red Lake City. The military rank system could be unlocked and a player's prestige with a city reached intimate. They could receive quests with increasing quality and difficulty proportional to a player's military rank. There's a bunch of bandits northwest from here. I want you to investigate them. The administration official gave Yi Si her quest. The official then gave Yi Si another quest. Young Huntress, you've done a lot for this city. The citizens of Red Lake City remember your deeds. Although you've been here for only a short time, I believe you love this city sincerely. I would now like to invite you to become a citizen of Red Lake City. Do you agree? Yi Si agreed without hesitation. A player could become a citizen of a city in Fate when their city. Recalling Crystal was bound to the city, and players can only be a citizen of one city. Some of the cities that were situated in more lush areas were suitable for potion makers and cooks. Cities that were closer to mines were suitable for miners and blacksmiths. There were also cities situated closely to dungeons, which were the favorites of guilds and other warmongering players. The city was crucial for the growth of its citizen. Many of the players did not understand this important factor. They did not think clearly about the choice city and, in the later stages of the game, had to pay huge fees to change their citizenship. As for Yi Si, she chose Red Lake City because it was one of the cities with no steel-blooded battle axe members as residents. More importantly, however, it would become one of Fate's top 10 most developed cities in the future. Although Red Lake City was more isolated, high-level dungeons would appear near it in the future. The surroundings of Red Lake City was rich with plants, animals, and mines. It was the perfect place. Yi Si could remember clearly that Red Lake City would be packed full of players in a few years' time. Congratulations, you're now officially a Red Lake City citizen. The official said with a stoic voice, after which his expression softened. This gave Yi Si a sense of belonging. A bright golden light emitted from Yi Si's body, and at the same time, a system announcement rang out. The young huntress Gongzi Yu has settled in Red Lake City after a long journey and is now a citizen of Red Lake Citizen. This is a very joyous event. Chapter 30 Substitutes. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. The system message naturally did not have the shock value of something like First Blood. Not many people lamented over it. However, to Yi Si, it carried a different meaning. You are the first outsider to join our Red Lake City. I will definitely reward you well. The official seemed extremely happy and took out a medal from the box on the office table, giving it to Yi Si. Yi Si received the medal and took a look. It was a citizen's medal. Red Lake City Citizen's Medal. 5 HP regeneration per second. The medal appeared to be related to the prestige within the city. The greater the prestige, the better the bonuses the medal provided. Although the stats of the medal was average, it was better than nothing. Yi Si immediately stuck it on her chest. Afterwards, the official urged Yi Si again, there are not enough people in the military department. Gongzi Yu, are you perhaps interested in helping? Here it is. Yi Si had worked so hard and so long just for this question. Before her, there were two options. Yes or no. If she replied yes, she would activate her own military rank system. If she replied no, the military rank system would not have any connection with her ever again. She obviously answered yes. Next, Yi Si was sent to the military department by the official. Gongzi Yu, you now are a citizen of Red Lake City. Do you want to protect this city? Naturally, Yi Si's answer was again yes. Afterwards, the military officer immediately helped Yi Si with her registration, and her citizen's medal was switched to a LVL-1 soldier's medal. Although the medal was changed, his stats remained the same. After becoming a LVL-1 soldier, Yi Si received a quest from the military officer, patrol Red Lake City. If your immediate superior instructed you, you must directly follow their orders. The quest seemed easy, but it actually proved to be very hard upon attempting to complete it. A patrol officer had a lot of duties to fulfill. From protecting the citizens, to maintaining order, to cleaning, the patrol officer was required to do everything. Although it was only one patrol a day, it would take at least an hour. It was tiring as hell and about as relaxing as fighting a boss. After the patrol was complete, Yi Si could go to the military officer to collect the salary pack of the day. Inside were 50 silver coins and 50 military honor points. Military honor points were needed for promotions. Other than doing the military officer's quests every day, there were no other ways of obtaining it. If one wanted to be promoted, they would need to patiently bear with the oppression. After finishing the day's worth of oppressive work, Yi Si left the administration office, and accepted another few simple quests, conveniently raising her to LVL 15. Afterwards, she traveled towards the hunter instructor. The combat skills in Fate do not require mastery like the life skills. As long as the LVL of a character fit the requirements, one can always level up a combat skill as long as the fees were paid. Since Yi Si's reached LVL 15, she could level up all her skills. She could even learn a skill at LVL 15, a very important one, mount. Quite a lot of players were already riding horses. With them galloping at full speed with their hoofs, it was a glamorous sight. Even Yi Si felt quite tempted to ride one. She wasted no time in learning the skill right after she hit LVL 15. Skills that could be learned by spending money were never cheap, and mount was especially expensive. Yi Si spent almost 30 gold coins in the process of leveling up her skills and acquiring the skill mount. With her wealth, Yi Si did not even flinch at the price, but any other average player would be able to feel the pain for a long time. The next step after learning mount was to get a horse. Horses were cheap. They only cost 10 gold coins each. After almost half a day of careful selection, Yi Si finally bought a small maroon-colored horse, and rode around Red Lake City happily. Something that ran on 4 legs was obviously faster than someone with 2 legs. Despite only increasing movement speed by 40%, the horse that costed 10 gold was a way better alternative than walking on foot. After showing off her horse, Yi Si noted that it was late. She logged out of the game and did her schoolwork. Life of a college student was tough, isn't it true? With loads of schoolwork every day, isn't it? Can't miss a class. Isn't it true? Isn't it true? Yi Si went online early in the morning the following day. She immediately received a mail. It was the bandages from Flutter and Sway. With the fresh bandages, Yi Si took out a series of potion from her storage and headed to the guild staging area. Yi Si thought that she was already early, but she realized that it was nothing to be proud of when she arrived at the guild staging area, as hundreds of players had already gathered there. Yi Si took a look at her friend list. Yi Tsung, Lu Chang, and Dong Yin were not online yet. Since she knew nobody else from the guild, she sat in an empty corner. The 3 logged into the game not long after. Just as the 4 gathered, Peacock Blue's voice rang in the guild channel. All participants, please take note, please find out which party you belong to from the bulletin board and report to your party leader. Our mission today is to clear Cruel Pit, and achieve first blood. Any party that clears the pit will be rewarded. The party leader will be awarded 10 DKP, while party members will be awarded 5 points each. If we can achieve first blood, the party leader will be awarded 200 DKP, and the members 100 each. The players present were excited. 1 point equals 100 bucks. Anybody would be excited. Yi Si was left speechless. He Xiao was truly willing to spend a lot. She thought that he was just someone who was slightly rich, but she did not expect him to be that wealthy. Even if they could not achieve first blood for the Cruel Pit, he'd need to pay out hundreds of thousands RMB. As expected of a rich person. After taking a look at the bulletin board, Yi Si was the only one of her friends left without a party. Lu Chang creased her eyebrows. Did they accidentally leave you out? Why was your name not there? Yi Si, of course, knew the truth. She stopped Lu Chang and said, "It's okay, you guys go on ahead. I'm fine." But Lu Chang was still unsatisfied, but Peacock Blue was already giving orders for party members to gather. Lu Chang had no choice but to leave for her party. With her 3 friends gone, Yi Si contacted Peacock Blue. "Peacock Blue, I did not see my name on the bulletin board. I've told you, you have insufficient GS, you're just a substitute. Stand aside. I'll call for you when somebody from a party left or was disconnected from the game." Peacock Blue retorted after realizing that it was Gong Ziyu. "Can I form a party of my own then?" "Do what you want, as long as it's not with some wild party." 1. "Take whoever that's willing to go with you," Peacock Blue replied. With that, Yi Si immediately shouted in the guild channel, looking for party members for Cruel Pit. "Need tank, healer, and DPS." 2 players immediately requested to join her party. It was a dwarven mage named Timely Rain and an Orcish warlock named Pickled Pepper Phoenix Claw. Yi Si shook her head. Dwarves were meant to be warriors or knights, while orcs were most suited to being rogues, rangers, druids, or priests. A dwarven mage and an Orcish warlock. It was a rather odd combination. Both of them were LVL 12, and their equipments were a mess. They suffered greatly due to the odd combination of race and class and ended up as substitutes. "Are we really going to the Cruel Pit?" asked Timely Rain right after joining the party. "Can we clear it?" Pickled Pepper Phoenix Claw sounded desperate. "Why not give it a try? We'll proceed if we can handle it and leave immediately if we can't." Yi Si didn't like to make superficial promises. "Even if we can't clear the dungeon, we can at least get to know the map. It'd be easier to look for a party next time." The 2 agreed immediately. Nobody else joined their party. Timely Rain and Pickled Pepper Phoenix Claw almost gave up. "Just forget about it, we'll just wait here as substitutes. If we can't find someone from the guild, we'll just find some random tank and healer." But Peacock Blue forbade us to form wild parties. "The party belongs to our guild if more than half its members are from our guild." Yi Si explained, "Come with me if you want. If not, you can leave the party." The 2 did not leave the party. They've been benchwarmer for quite some time already. They would never easily let go of such an opportunity. With all their doubts cleared, the 2 followed Yi Si to the Cruel Pit. Perhaps due to the fact that Cruel Pit was the focus of a lot of big guilds, the place was packed with players. Yi Si shouted, "Cruel Pit, need a tank and a healer. 3 people in the party, we'll start as soon as we have enough members." She immediately received requests. She was puzzled. She had thought that she would need at least half a day to form a complete party. Were tanks and healers so unpopular in this her current life? But, as she looked carefully, Yi Si was overcome with joy. The people who joined her party were none other than Little Icy Cold Hands and Icy Cold Little Hands. TL Notes. 1. Wild Party. Party with members without a guild. Phoenix Claw. A fancy way of calling chicken feet. It's actually a delicacy though.